Field Notes, the Mimbres Valley. The drive up to Emery Pass in New Mexico's Black Range is Dramamine Highway, twisting, turning, switchback climbing. I've made this drive frequently over the years, usually with family. At the pass, elevation 8,200 feet, we'd stop at the lookout and gaze off east at the spectacular view over the Rio Grande Valley, across the San Andres Range to distant Sierra Blanca Peak, jutting above the Mescalero Apache Reservation in the Sacramento Mountains, maybe 150 miles away. We'd then hike north or south a few miles on one of the trails. A few years ago, a massive forest fire ripped through the pass, and blackened pines now line the road in many places, the ground still ashen. The forest will recover, but not soon. Today I'm not stopping at the pass, just zipping through, heading down the western side, a gradual but still twisting descent to the Mimbres Valley. As I drop, spruce forest becomes ponderosa pine, which gives way to pinon juniper woodland studded with the stalks of yucca and satol. The sparse undergrowth is diversified by chamisa shrub, prickly pear cactus, cholla, and even, on rocky outcrops, ocotillo. It's been a long dry spell here, and the landscape shows signs of stress. A bit later, I arrive at a trailhead parking area, let my two dogs out, border collies, and consider a hike in the 90-degree heat. A spur of the Continental Divide Trail begins here, heading up into the Black Range, and, eventually, all the way to Canada. It might, I think, be a nice stroll for a few hours. I load my day pack and the dogs, and I head up the trail, past the sign marking the Alto Leopold Wilderness boundary. But as we proceed, I realize this trail, following a ridge line, is very exposed and hot, with no shade, especially for the dogs. I'm having second thoughts. We soon reach a junction labeled Mimbres River Trail 77. The wooden arrow points down into shadier canyons with the promise of water at the end. Enticed, I decide to take it. We drop quickly into the drainage, and though we pass through some hot open stretches, there's also plenty of shade beneath the tall ponderosas. Sometimes, when I stop in an especially shady area to rest, the dogs need to be cajoled to leave their cool resting spot. In the bottom of a drainage, we encounter a striking cluster of massive boulders shaded by leafy gamble oaks. I stop for lunch, guzzle plenty of water. Although we are in a drainage labeled as a creek on my map, Cooney Creek, it is bone dry. I begin to worry that I haven't brought enough water. There is plenty for me, but only if I don't share with the dogs, whose panting, long tongues, and languid pace suggest they are feeling the heat. When we finally reach the Mimbres River, I assure myself, there will be plenty of water for them. But then a frightening worry strikes. What if the river is dry? Could it be? I don't know. There's been a multi-year drought. The climate is changing. Certainly the lower reaches of the river dry up, but do these upper reaches? I hope not. An hour later, after a sweaty climb over a sun-drenched ridge, I see far below the line of cottonwoods that marks the river. A few minutes later we arrive, to my relief, at a beautiful sheltered stream, shaded with cottonwoods and tall ponderosa pines, and, thankfully, plenty of flowing water. The river, really just a creek, is narrow and shallow, easy to cross, but purling with clear water. The dogs drink their fill. I encourage them to splash around and get wet. I take off my boots and wade. This is a lovely spot, an idyllic oasis. I could keep following the trail along the banks of the river, deeper into the Alto Leopold Wilderness, climbing gradually up to the headwaters of the Mimbres below Reed's Peak along the crest of the Black Range. But not today. Alas, probably not ever. After a leisurely rest, it's time, I reluctantly realize, to head back.